Camera number 386, and we have a Mamiya 645, or at least the body of a Mamiya 645. It's a 120 film format camera, and from that 120 film you get 15 exposures measuring 6 by 4.5, hence the M645. So let's just run through the features of the camera, which I must say I'm very pleased to finally acquire one. It's one of those cameras, I have a few of these cameras which I never thought I'd actually be able to obtain, but fortunately I was able to secure this one. So the camera requires a battery which is housed in the base here, and we twiddle the little dial here and that should pop open. There we go, the battery chamber, and it's a 4LR44, which is a 6-volt battery, and this battery powers the shutter mechanism. Now Mamiya were very proud, I think, that they'd come up with this new mechanism, the shutter. They called it the Mamiya moving coil electronic shutter, but it does require this battery to power that. So then let's turn to the left hand side here. We have where my finger is. I'm twiddling the camera strap. It has a multiple exposure function lever here, which is currently set to multiple function, and this also, if you like, doubles up as a way to test the camera's winding on mechanism. So we actually have the camera wound on already, just put it like that, and then we can see the shutter mechanism. Now there are two shutter releases, one on the top here, one on the bottom, and you'll notice I had to twiddle the dial here because there is a lock mechanism, which is very useful because many people have, or it seems a few people have had problems with actuating the shutter by mistake. So to be able to lock it is a very good idea, particularly since you're only limited to 15 exposures. So that's the mechanism. I've obviously got it set at, there we go. Okay, and then as I say, with the multiple exposure function set, we can actually wind on the mechanism and test the shutter. Otherwise, we would normally, under normal circumstances, set it to where the two dots meet, and then we then can't actually test the mechanism. It just winds on continuously, or it should do anyway. That's interesting. It doesn't. Yes, it does. There we go. Okay. The thing about the 645 is it's very modular. The lens, the finder, even the wind-on mechanism can be exchanged for various different types. I'm not quite sure what this one's called. And then we have a mirror-up mechanism, or lever. And we do have to remember to turn that off if we do use it. There we go. Okay, done the two release levers. We have our film counter. We have a battery test button, which lights up the little light here. Don't know whether you can see that, probably not. There we go. And then on the other side we have two ports for flash synchronization, depending on what flash we're using. Another camera strap lug. Very important, these camera lugs, strap lugs rather, because it is a heavy camera, and if we intend to carry it around, then that's definitely a need to have a very strong camera strap. And then we have our shutter dial here, which goes from 1/500th of a second all the way down to 8 seconds, and then bulb. And then there is another little indentation here. We'll come back to that in a few moments. Otherwise, if we go to, keeping on this side actually, there is the lens release here as well. So in fact, let's just put a lens on the camera. So I have with me the Mamiya 80mm f2.8. It's the only lens I have currently, and you notice it has the little bunny rabbit ears, very similar to the Nikon, because it then has to meet up with, if there is a finder which has a meter, then it can link up to that. So actually what I'll do is I'll delay that for one moment because I want to put the finder on, but I'll do that in a few moments. Because we have our battery, our film chamber. We have a film memo which has to be pressed, and then we can move the dial or lever, and then that reveals the film carrier, I suppose you'd call it. There is no removable back, so we have a film carrier. This is 120. It does also have a 220, which is double the length of 120. And there is a self-explanatory down here in the base of the unit to show us how we load our film. But if you want to see me loading the film, then please view the other video, the location to darkroom with the Mamiya, where I actually start the video with loading the film. Otherwise, we'll put that back in. It can only go in one way. There's the cog mechanism here and the wind-on mechanism on the right-hand side. So it just goes in there and then clicks into place. And then close the door without damaging the camera. So finders. Now, as I mentioned, this camera is very modular. There are various finders that you can add to the camera. The one I have is I think it's known as the PD Prism Finder S. It has a light meter built into it, which actually draws power from the actual camera. So the little pins here, contacts, line up. So let's just put that on. I think that's it. I think we're on. I think we're good to go. To take the prism finder off, we have to press the little lever, rotate the lever and press it in, and then we can take it back off again. So looking through the viewfinder with the PD Prism Finder S, we have a series of LEDs, and they go from red, and then the middle one is green, and then we have sort of over and under exposure built in there. We set our film speed with this dial here, and then you notice it does have another shutter dial. So to allow us to use the light meter within this prism finder, we have to set the body shutter dial to this little setting here where there's a dot within a circle. And then that allows us then to use this dial on the prism finder to control our shutter speeds. And so when we turn the dial or we rotate the aperture, the LEDs will light depending on whether it's over or under exposure. And then obviously our idea is to get the green light, and then we're good to go. So let's put a lens on. I mentioned the Mamiya lens. It's a Mamiya C-core lens, C. I believe there are other versions. Is it a D lens, I believe, that can also be used, a later version. But as I say, this is the 80mm 2.8. And we have to just line up the two dots, the one on the body and the one on the lens. And then simply rotate the lens. There we go. And then you notice the, for want of a better expression, bunny rabbit ears lock with the pin, or link with the pin, in the finder, and then that allows us to use the meter within the finder and get correct exposure. On the lens there is an automatic where the diaphragm is open until the point of taking the picture, but we can use M if we want to perhaps get depth of field, or want to use N, just full stop. It's manual mode. There we go. I think I've done pretty much all of the features. No, I haven't, not yet. To actuate the light meter, we have to press this little white button, and then that turns the meter on, and then we can rotate our dial for our exposure, the shutter, or the aperture. As I say, it's a very heavy camera. Initially, when I first held it, I have to say it was love at first sight. It just felt right in the hand. I do like holding that with sort of cupped hand approach. But as I say, you do need a strap, because woe behold you if you should drop the thing. So there we go. The Mamiya 645. And as I say, if you want to see it in usage, please look at the other video, Location to Darkroom, Mamiya Meanderings. So this is camera number 386.